Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with trumpeter, cornetist, and composer Ron Miles. Right out of Denver, Colorado, he talked about his musical journey that includes a huge host of collaborations with the finest in jazz. With cats like Bill Frisell and Brian Blade, we discussed yet another new venture on his part with the band Whirlpool, what the Denver scene is like these days, who his jazz heroes are, and many more insights and stories from a journeyed jazz cat. Please dig this interview, my friends.
So let me go ahead and start off here. I know that Whirlpool's been busy and they have a new album coming out, but what has been going on with you lately?
I have a trio with Bill Frisell and Brian Blade, and we released an album last year, so we're playing in Montreal this week. I'm doing this film. We play live with Bill Frisell, Great Flood. We're playing at this Wilco Festival this week. And Myra Melford has a new record out called Snowy Egret. And Busy. Ben Goldberg has a new record out with Nels Klein and a bunch of folks. Wayne Horvitz has a new record coming out next month. I've been busy.
Yeah, sounds like it. So in addition to all of that, you're a part of Whirlpool, the collaboration with Caroline Davis, Jeff Swanson, and Charles Runback. Talk to me a little bit about the beginnings of this group and kind of the evolution to current day.
Well, I mean, they're a long-standing working band, so they have a great way of playing, and they asked me to sit in with them when they came through Denver one time, and I enjoyed playing with them, and I think they felt like maybe I made a positive contribution to their music. So from that point, they set up a recording and asked would I participate in, and I was happy to do so. They still are really a band, and I get to be a part of this particular project. I look at it more than me insinuating my way inside the band, even though it would be an honor to be a part of their band. I think they're a pretty self-contained trio as it is. So.
Cool. So they're going to release the album Dancing on the Inside. You all are going to release the album on June 30th. Mm-hmm. Talk to me a little bit about your feelings on this release and kind of the creative energy that went into this album.
Well, they brought a lot of great music in, and we got a chance to play a couple of gigs and rehearse a bunch. And I think that the real great thing about them is they play so well together. They have developed a real language, a real approach to playing that also, for me, it was nice that they made me feel welcome, and that their view is not so narrow that they can't let somebody else kind of come in and suggest some things and work with them as well. So it felt like a really, really natural approach. And also just I think that their instrumentation of a single melodic instrument, guitar and drums, is a situation I've played with a lot as well, and so that made me feel at home as well.
So talk to me about the Midwestern tour you're going to go on to promote this album. That's going to be coming up, I believe, in September. How do you feel about those dates? What's it going to be like to get together and to actually present this to the people?
Oh, my gosh. Well, I must say that that's the most exciting, because I must say the record seems so long ago that that can't sorry, my phone, sometimes people are calling. I hope that didn't interrupt there. That this is where the music's really going to chance to grow and breathe a lot. Like I say, it was pretty darn new when we approached it that last time. So a chance to play several dates in a row are going to allow us to really investigate the possibilities of not only the songs but the group interaction as well. So
do you have any plans on doing any more work with Whirlpool in the future? More recordings, more touring, anything else?
Oh gosh, well I would be game, that's for sure. I think it's really kind of as they develop along the line, if they see me fitting in, but I feel like I had a great time, and I'm looking forward to having a great time playing with them live. So yeah, if the opportunity presents itself, then I'm all in with them for sure. Like I say, they're three of my favorite young musicians, and more than anything, I think that they're one of my favorite bands. They really, like I say, I just love their compositions and the way that they play together.
Right on. So you seem to be a real collaboration kind of jazz musician. What is it about collaborations that you like to be so much a part of?
Well, for me, I don't really look at myself as a soloist. I really am somebody who, that's my greatest joy is to play with other folks. And the music for me doesn't really come together until everybody is together on the bandstand. The possibilities of anything happening at any time. Anyone can take the lead at any moment. And the bands I've been a part of really, we go with that approach. And so sometimes it means that you'll sit on a song and maybe play one note or not play any notes if that's what's needed, or you'll play a lot, but that we're always in the moment. And so that the bands that seem to call me are and ask me to play, and are bands that value that approach as well, that we're all collectively improvising as much of the time as we can.
So let me get back to your roots as a person, as a musician. You grew up in Indianapolis. What was it like with growing up there and with your family that fostered this love of jazz and music that you have to this day?
Oh, that's a great question. But, I must say that, I grew up in Indianapolis. We moved here when I was 11, and I really didn't start to play music until just before we left. So really it was, my musical upbringing was mostly here. In Indianapolis, it was a lot of, listening to the radio and having music just as a part of our family construct. But my folks didn't play musical instruments or anything, but I'd see Miles Davis records around or obviously we're from Indiana in the 1970s, so Jackson 5 records were like everywhere, on the back of cereal boxes and stuff. So we were definitely, felt like there was a vibrant music scene going on, but it really wasn't until I got to Colorado that I got deeply invested in playing music.
And that's the other part of this, too. There sounds like a real rich, collaborative, kind of supportive environment going on in Denver. Talk to me a little bit about the jazz scene in Denver, Colorado in 2015.
Oh my gosh, I feel like it's really just blossomed so much through the years. I mean, I look at some of the magazines where people come through town and who've come out of here, like Rudy Royston and Shane Inslee and the folks in Kneebody and Tia Fuller and Eric Deutsch and all my trumpet brothers, Kirk Kanufsky and Nate Wooley and Kenny Warren. I mean, there's so many folks, the young folks who came after me, that I think that there was a sense that came up in this crew that came up after me that we all liked lots of different kinds of music, and we like to improvise, and we had a healthy respect for each other and each other's musical taste. So it wasn't like, oh man, you're into that, I can't hang with you. You're like, oh, you're into that? Well, let me check that out. I'm not familiar with that. Okay. Well, I'm into this. Well, what can we do together? And so I think, and I hear that in those bands, when I hear Rudy's bands or Rudresh Mahaprabhu, who's also from here, or like I say, Tia. I hear that kind of sense of collaboration. And also, like I say, this sense of respect for lots of musical traditions.
And speaking of having that sense of tradition and harboring that, you're a teacher at the of jazz studies at the Metropolitan State University in Denver. What do you try to teach your kids that come through your class?
Well, I think one of the big things we try and do first off is to see where they're coming from and have them realize when they get to college that they bring a lot to the table. And part of our job is to realize what that is and see if we can build on that as opposed to just dismissing it and saying, oh, you showed up in college and, you don't know what's what. We're going to show you, It's like, no, And so maybe they know some bebop tunes. So cool. Or maybe they know This Land Is Your Land, which, has the same chords as the blues by Thelonious Monk. So let's kind of check that out. And so the degree is actually called Jazz in American Improvised Music. And so we try and just take the whole of American improvised traditions and see if from that we can develop a musician who can go out and make music with other people. And I must say, I'm not overly concerned with what kind of stylistic label that is when they get out of here. It doesn't matter to me really that much. It's just that they really realize the music that's inside of them and that they can meet other musicians and make some music together. And so this is our first full year of doing it, and it's grown dramatically. And we just were able to hire Don Byron to come teach there in the fall, and Shane Inslee's going to come teach there in the fall, and those musicians have also been very influential in fostering that love of music for me too. They're great heroes of mine. So I think our students are really going to benefit from having these folks around.
So when you were growing up and you were in the formative years of learning the craft, who was the most influential teacher for you?
Most influential teacher, that's a really good question. It was probably this fellow who lives in town named Gordon Dooley, who was a big band trumpet player. And I started studying with him probably 1977. So Feel So Good by Chuck Mangione had just come out. Theme from Rocky by Maynard Ferguson. So I was into that, And so he would pull my coat and there's other folks, He gave me this Dinah Jams record with Clifford Brown and Clark Terry and Maynard Ferguson because he knew I was in a Maynard, And it's like, why don't you check out Clifford Brown and Clark Terry on this? And it's like, whoa, what? And from there, he just would turn me on to stuff, and I would spend my Saturdays riding my bike all around town, haunting record stores or going to the library and pulling out old downbeats from the 1940s. And then from there, I got to hear Miles Davis live and Weather Reports and Art Ensemble Chicago, and then it was all bets were off, So him, Fred Hess, who's a great creative composer around here, and there've been so many musicians though who let me just come on the bandstand with them as I didn't know anything and learn. So I feel I've had many teachers, but Mr. Dooley, I wanted to definitely give a shout out to him.
Right on. Why do you love jazz so much?
I love being able to be in the moment. I love mystery. I love not knowing all the time. And that's what this music is about. You have to accept that you don't know what's going to happen so that you can experience what's happening. So for me, that's how I love it. And when I play classical music, I still tried to approach it with that same sense of the new. But for me, the language of classical music is still for me a more, just for me, a recreative music because I'm playing somebody else's notes and rhythms at this time, as opposed to I might want to play something different here. And I do from time to time when I'm a soloist, but it's still not quite as loose as the jazz is. And also, like I say, the sense that we're doing it together. It's not just that I'm experiencing this mystery, but that other musicians are, and the audience. We're all experiencing it together, and we all courage and desire to explore. So that's what I like about it.
Right on. Let me ask you, who are your jazz heroes? Who do you admire the most?
I love bands. I really love bands a lot, and so my big musical heroes, Wayne Shorter and his band, I think that's just my favorite band of the present. The people that I get to play with, Bill and Brian, of course. Prince, is a jazz musician, but probably my most favorite living musician is Prince, and Bjork, and there's so many great creative artists out there, like I say, but those are some of the folks, and historically, people like Jelly Roll Morton and Jimmy Giuffre and other people who've done so much of what it is that we're doing now, at least spirit-wise, about checking out other music in a healthy respect, from the Spanish tinge of Jelly Roll Morton to Louis Armstrong making, country music records, with Jimmy Rogers. So, that's just the collaboration has always been a part of the music. And I think sometimes as we go along historically, we separate ourselves from other musical traditions and artists. And it makes us weaker. It doesn't make us stronger. And I think, it's like with, all the stuff in South Carolina and all that sense about us coming together is, even the governor, talking about getting rid of the flag in South Carolina. What?
Yeah.
A horrible, horrible tragedy. But it people come together in surprising ways, man. So I have faith in that, and our bandstand hopefully reflects that too, won't we?
you know, you named an incredible swath of artists. You're going from Bjork to Jelly Roll Morton. So I'm going to ask kind of a fictitious little realm here, a fantasy realm. If you leave a gig in Denver, you come outside, and there's a DeLorean, and the good doc is behind the wheel, and you can punch the digits to go to a jazz show. What would you want to see in the history of the annals of jazz history? Where would you want to go, and who would you want to see?
You know, there's so much, but, you know, I read this thing, and this, so I'm just going to go with what's right in front of my mind now. Herbie Hancock wrote this book recently, and he talked about getting fired from a gig by Sonny Rollins. And the band was Richard Davis, Tony Williams, Herbie, and Sonny Rollins. And I guess he said that Sonny wasn't, like, they were, you know, playing like they were playing with Miles Davis, like 1964, and Sonny was, like, not totally down. But Herbie said he played amazing. It was just like great. And so right now, I really want to hear that gig so bad.
That'd be great.
So right now, that's right at the top of my list.
Yeah, that'd be great. What's the nicest thing a fan has ever said to you?
Oh gosh, you know, I can't drop a favorite, a particular thing, but just that our music has affected them in some kind of positive way, and because, you know, all of us when we get to be adults and we're out in the world, particularly I think when we get to be adults, is we just want to see if we can make a positive impact in our community, wherever that is, and for me and my crew, that's through playing music. So if I can do that in some way, just make people think just about something differently, whether they liked it or didn't like it, that's all right, you know, or they see something differently, or see themselves or their environment differently, then that's a huge thing. And people have said things like that over the course of time, so it keeps us coming back, trying again.
Yeah, right on. So over the years, you've played for countless amounts of fans. You've had critics that have reviewed your music. There's so many different opinions on who Ron Miles is. You, as the man, tell me who you are. What is your perception of who you are?
Well, I hopefully am, like I say, a musician who plays well with others, and like I say, allows the band, doesn't get in the way of the band playing at its best, because in the end, I'm not that concerned whether people really are leave thinking they heard me, or they remember that they even heard me, but they heard some great music.
Yeah.
And they heard this band that really touched them. And whether they, like I say, remember, oh, this is Ron Miles, blah, 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 that's all right. But just like, yeah, I remember this one to this club and this thing was happening. That to me is the best part. So.
Perfect. Ron, thank you for your time.
Well, we're going to get out to KC for sure. So if we don't see you in Chicago, it'll inspire us to get out to Kansas City.
Amen, man. Ron, thank you for your time.
Okay, take care.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to yet another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in New York City, Kansas City, Denver, and spots all over America, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Ron Miles for his music and wisdom. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store, or you can visit theneonjazz.blogspot.com for all things Neon Jazz. Until next time, enjoy the music, my friends.
Neon Jazz.